Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano. You're listening to another episode of the world famous Universal Love, the best podcast in one, two, three galaxies. Ladies and gentlemen, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves. I am excited to be talking to you today, ladies and gents. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's funny? Um, Today we're going to talk about developing a character. Because I mean that's what you got to do these days. Uh, you know. Trying to be in the middle get you nowhere. They squeezing out the middle class. They squeezing out the middleman, the middle worker. They squeezing out the middle. So you got to develop a character in this here content. In the world of COE, content over everything. Sometimes you gotta take a stand, ladies and gents. You gotta develop a character, and you gotta drive home the point. Now you and I both know a lot of this stuff online is a lot of this stuff in the world now it's make believe. It's BS. It's phony. It's garbage. I mean, people tell you, oh, this is my friend, that's my friend, these are my friends, this is my friend. Really, in all reality, people have, how many best friends can one person have, huh? I'll wait on you. I can count on my hand. No, without counting my child, my unborn child, my mom and my dad, I probably got wife, cousin who's more of a brother, and my two friends from the Navy. And they're like brothers. 4 to 5 people that I have close relationships with. Close relationships with. That's it. I like people. I enjoy people. I like talking to people. I like talking to different people. But at the end of the day, if I'm having a problem, well, me personally, if I'm having a problem, I turn to Jesus. But that's just me. But if I'm having a problem, or if I want to vent about something, I would call these 4 or 5 people. I would not go to the stranger up the street, this, that, and the third. But what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I say all that to say, ladies and gentlemen, the world is hokey now. It's more hokey than ever before. It's phony. There's a big phoniness. People they claim they're more open with their feelings, but are they? It's a phoniness. It's a character. There are more and more people that walk around characters, act actors. Um, it's a strange time that we live in. It's a personality driven culture we live in now. We have the president of the United States who's doing a terrible job, by the way, terrible job at being president. How did he become president? Not based on anything that he's ever done. Okay, he became president based on his personality driven. Now a lot of times, presidents. I remember I read a book about John Kennedy and Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon had more of the policy, this, that, and the other. But on camera, John Kennedy, he was a good looking guy. They said blah blah blah. Camelot, blah blah blah. So John Kennedy, TV had just came in the forefront. So John Kennedy, boom, he became president. So I'm not saying this is just new. This is new personality, but it's 200% times now. Everybody's personality. Everybody's somebody. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your business to get known, if you want your business to be heard, if you want to be heard, if I want to be heard, anybody wants to be heard, you got to develop a character. You got to sort of take a stand, double down, triple down, quadruple down on it, and you got to ride that wave out, man. And so, pick a lane, pick your lane. You know how they got the red pill people, the blue pill people, they got the manosphere people. They got those people. Women should be in the kitchen, blah blah blah. These people in their personal lives, they probably lead completely different lives. But on the camera, everything's wrestling now. I have a friend. We talk about this. Everything's wrestling. Everything's a stage. Everybody, somebody. Everybody has something. And they're selling. a storyline. You know, I don't like this guy, I don't like that guy. You know, uh, so it's a lot more personality driven. You know, COE, content over everything. Man. So you gotta you unfortunately, you know, if you want to be heard, you know, if you want to get through if you want to get through the echo, the loudness the loudness of the world we live in right now, you know, uh, you gotta develop that personality. You know, I harken back. I think we had an episode like this earlier, but sometimes you have to double down, triple down what you're talking about. I remember Rodney Dangerfield. I always heard Rodney Dangerfield. He said he tried to be a comedian. He was like almost 40. It wasn't working for him. He said, "That's it. I'm gonna go sell aluminum siding or whatever." And then Rodney Dangerfield, he was at home or whatever. He started developing the character. You know, hey, I get no respect. Hey, oh, hey, hell, no respect. Hey, no respect. Rodney Dangerfield, he was like 50 something. He was a big old star. He was in Back to School. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, but that was a good movie. Uh, yeah, he was in a lot of movies. He was like 40, 50, late 40s, 50s, you know, 60s. Right in Dangerfield, he was the man. But he said they said, you know, why did it work for you the first time? He said I had no character, you know, I was sort of bland, you know, and you know, that's it, man. You gotta drive home the point. As I told my homeboy the other day, I said, I was talking to him on the phone and I said, listen, man, I said, I gotta fire back up the podcast. I said, no, we're gonna have to do things different around here now. You know, we're gonna have to develop we got to develop a theme. We got to stick with it. We have to ride it out. You know, no more middle talk. I know a lot of episodes. You know, I mean, I got common sense. You got common sense, and you know, we talk common sense. You know, we chit chat. You know, we have a nice conversation, 10, 15-minute conversation. You know, about marketing, about branding, about finding yourself, doing stuff that you want to do. Because we all know, you know, if you want to make some money in this world, you know, if you don't want to be dependent on a job, you have to figure something out. You have to figure something else out. You know, you have to, you know, you want to get into the stock market, or you want to, you know, do something. You want to do something to make some extra money. You got to figure that part out. You know, and you just can't tell people, hey, you want to make $1,000 a month. You know, nobody wants to hear that. People want to hear how can I become a millionaire. So that's how you kind of got to go about it. So you got to develop a character. You know what the hero's journey. You know what journey is your character gonna go down. You know what rabbit hole they're gonna go down. You know how they're gonna help people. What business are you in? You know, are you selling the solution, or are you selling them the cure? You know, you know, you selling the cure, or you diagnosing the people. You know, you gotta, you know, you selling steak, or you selling the sizzle. You know, you gotta figure that part out. And I know a lot of people don't want to, you know, you don't want to put on, you know, but the world is full of actors, man. We've all acted before, you know. You've been in a relationship, you know, you want the relationship to end. What do you start doing? You know, you start acting kind of different, you know. That's not really who you are, man. You're not a mean person, but you try to say, well, if I get mean with them, they might leave me alone, you know. You know, you don't want to be mean. Nobody really wants to be, you know, just a mean person. But you like, if I'm mean to them, they'll finally just leave me alone, you know. And you start doing that, you know, you get mean, they leave, and you go, oh man. You see them a few months later, you go, hey man, how's it going? They go, you were mean to me. So I didn't mean all that, man. I just don't want to be in it. I just don't want to be in a relationship with you. Hey, it happens. Look, man, it happens. Okay. You've ever been in that situation? Listen, I know I have. He just like, how can I get out of this? You know? And then there's nothing wrong with the person. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. But it just ain't working out, man. It's just like, this ain't it, man. You know? This ain't it. So you just try to find, you know, a lot of times when you're younger, you don't have the heart to just tell somebody, hey, this ain't it, man. You know? When you're younger, you're like, well, they're nice to me, I'm nice to them, you know. I mean, maybe we should, but when you get older, you learn. Sometimes things just don't work out. You know, I met my wife, me and my wife, we had ups and downs in the beginning, you know. Our first few years of being together, ups and downs, okay? But I knew I loved that. I love that woman, okay? I loved her. No matter what, she could make me mad. I could make her mad. I loved her. I loved her. That was it. I knew she was the one for me. You know what I'm saying? And so I fought hard. You know, I fought hard to say, hey, well, let's figure out how we gonna make this work. And I tell you what, man, we've been married. This is the 9th year now, and you know we're on our second kid, and you know everything's copacetic, and I'm enjoying our marriage, and I hope she's enjoying it too. I can't speak for her, but I know I'm enjoying it. And so you got to develop who you gonna be. You know, you got to develop a character on this online in this online fiasco that's running wild. You know, so you know, who are you going to be? What are you going to do? You know, so tonight, let's do some homework tonight. Get out a piece of paper, you know, and say, hey, what journey am I going to go down? What do I want to sell to people? What do I want to tell the people? You know, what do I want to do? You know, you gotta develop a character. Okay? You gotta develop a character. And you gotta get it going. And you gotta lay in and you gotta commit. Listen, don't nothing work unless you commit. You can't get married half stepping. You know, you can't be half pregnant. You know, you, you decide you want to be with somebody, be with them. Don't be with everybody. Don't have your eye over here, your eye to the left, your eye to the right. Put your two beady little eyes right on the person that you want to be with, and you put all your effort into that relationship. So that way, if it should work, but if it don't work, you just always say, "Hey, I made the effort." People, a lot of times, the reason why people fail at everything, is because they don't lock in, they don't focus. You know, you gotta put the utmost focus on anything that you want to do, right? Ladies and gentlemen, develop a character online, and you will and develop that character, work on that character, hone the craft of the character, and ladies and gentlemen, COE, content over everything, and you will be A-OK in this online marketing world. Okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We will be back tomorrow with all the episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizano. Thank you for listening. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, everybody, peace.